Hi guys, it's Internet Nuisance Gabby Dunn. I have a podcast called Bad with Money. It's a show about finances and feelings where we don't talk down to you. Right now, we're going to show you a little clip from an episode that we did about home buying. We talked to Elizabeth Renter from NerdWallet, who is an expert and gives us all the stats and all the information that you need to know about buying a home. And then we talked to my friend and yours, ALEXIS ZALL, all about the process of buying her condo and the mistakes that you need to avoid. So check out the clip that is about to play, and if you like it, the link for the whole episode will be in the description. Okay, bye!
I read real estate subreddits, and everyone was pissed this year. So can you explain what has been going on? Because everyone is so mad.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. So interest rates are really low. So in that regard, it's a really great time to buy. People are like, and also we're coming out of a really hard year. And those of us that didn't suffer greatly economically from the impacts of COVID actually were able to save some money. So coming into this year, people are like, great, I'm going to buy a house. Look, I'm going to pay 3% interest and it's going to be awesome. And then they get out there and look, and there are hardly any houses out there. And the ones that are out there are priced incredibly high. They're selling over list price. And so what we have going on here is basic supply and demand. Demand is really high. Supply is really low. As such, prices are rising. And it's incredibly frustrating if you were hoping to buy.
Yeah, so people have been saying that it's different, right? Where like normally you can sort of negotiate. In this instance now, I don't know if it's getting better, but it was like you have to do like, $15,000 over asking price, write them a letter telling them why you want the house. Like
right.
You're not allowed to do an appraisal, like all this type of stuff that was so unusual. And
right.
so like, is there a world in which that changes anytime soon?
So I'm going to break apart your question. Is there a world where that changes? Yes. Anytime soon? Probably not, unfortunately, but like realistically. So I recently was looking at some listing data from realtor.com for the first quarter and found that the number of active listings were down 48% compared with the first quarter of last year. And, the first quarter of last year was sort of like our last normal quarter. So that's a noticeable amount. Like in some metro areas, the number of active listings has dropped 71% since the same time last year. That was Austin, Texas. In places like Jacksonville, Florida, and Raleigh, North Carolina, it fell 64% year over year. And so when you're used to opening Zillow and like say you're used to seeing 100 houses in a normal period of time, and now you open it and you see 40, like that's a noticeable change. And you still have just as many, if not more people that are trying to get into the game and trying to buy right now. So yeah, you're finding that, you're having to go over list price. You're having to have a bigger down payment or an all cash purchase. And there are exceptions, like there are certain markets that aren't quite as competitive. As an example, I actually purchased in December, but I bought in a small town in Kansas and it's totally different. Like mine was the only offer. It was accepted. It was asking price. So that was good. So there are exceptions to this. It's not like, oh, you're never going to be successful if you want to buy right now. But if you're hoping to buy in a highly competitive market, it's going to be tough. And I think a lot of people may find that the stress of buying in today's market may keep them out of it for another 6 months to a year until things cool off a little bit.
So this show is pretty basic, and we kind of have a lot of people who don't really even know where to start. So I wanted to walk through for this episode. So, okay, so let's say you want to buy a house. What is step one?
Ooh, so for me, personally, it was spending way too much time looking at listings, like every lunch break, every night before bed, looking at listings. And I think you kind of get familiar with what you can afford in your area or in the area that you're looking in that way. So you have a little bit of a realistic outlook when you actually do decide to get ready. Now, for other people, it's going to make the most sense to reach out to a few real estate agents. And I say a few because you really have the power in this relationship. You're going to end up paying them. And, we can talk about national averages and how the shortage of homes and the high prices, but it really matters where you're looking.
you bought a condo. Mm-hmm. You are one of my only friends who has purchased a home of any kind. So, what made you want to do that, but other than rent?
Right. That's a really interesting question. I guess societal conditioning would be like a big answer, is like the sort of always being told, like, as soon as you can buy, you should buy.
Yeah.
And then also I felt like in a way it would offer me more freedom with, like, if I wanted to travel somewhere, I would be able to, like, sublet this place out for a month. I have yet to do that, but I could. And so that's exciting. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've always wanted to, like, spend a month or two, like, in New York or somewhere else. And just, like, it didn't make sense to, like, have a place I was renting in LA and then rent a place somewhere else, or, like, put all my stuff into storage if I just wanted to go somewhere for, like, a month. And so, yeah, that was, like, a big, sort of positive, is that I just have, like, more flexibility and potentially also be able to, like, make money renting out this place, if I were to do that. And then, yeah, also just, like you said, like, not wanting to spend money on rent. And in talking to my girlfriend's mom is a real estate agent, and she was the realtor on my place. And I'll just be able to, like, buy a house so much sooner because I'll be able to, like, sell this place, use that money for the down payment, and then, like, keep going. And that was something that I hadn't really thought of before, because I'd always thought, oh, I'll buy a house when I can buy a house. But then in talking to her, it was like, well, this will get me there a lot sooner.
So you are also someone like me who's kind of going through this with, like, no parental support. So how did you start looking at things? How did you, like, just take the first steps? What were they?
Right. Well, I was living in a 2-bedroom with a roommate that I really loved, and she told me that she wanted to get a 1-bedroom, and so I was sort of just trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I was looking at, like, 1-bedrooms to rent on Zillow, and they were just going to be so expensive for, like, all the great amenities I was able to get at a 2-bedroom, but I didn't really want a roommate, so, you know, just, like, all that normal stuff that I feel like we all go through in home hunting. And then I was like, well, what if I went on Zillow to buy and I just put price low to high? And then I was like,
what's
oh,
the cheapest possible place?
yeah, literally. I was like, just what is out there? And that's what I first started seeing, like, 1-bedrooms to buy. And I kind of got into it by looking at this thing called a TIC. Have you heard of that?
No.
So I'm not an expert on this, but my understanding of it, it's really popular in San Francisco or, like, other big cities where it's really hard to break into the home buyer market, where basically you have, like, an 8-unit building or 4-unit building, and all of the tenants are on the same mortgage. And there's, like, pros and cons. One is, like, a lot of times it's a lot cheaper. Like, the places I was looking at, there were a couple that were, like, in the $400K range in Los Angeles, which is, like, insane.
Yeah.
Crazy. In every other part of the country, it was like 500 square feet for $400K.
Oh, I know.
And I was like, yes!
Where I live right now, it's like a lovely home, but it's very old. And I looked it up to buy, and it's $1.6 million.
Yeah.
$1.6 million?
It's crazy. Completely unhinged.
Meanwhile, like, when me and Mal were driving across country, whenever we would stop in, like, you know, the middle, like, Deming, New Mexico, or, like, the middle of nowhere, Mississippi, or whatever, I'd, like, look up what the houses were, and it'd be like, 5-bedroom house, $90K? And I'd be like, are you kidding me? I've made
very
horrible
upsetting
choices of where to live.
I know. It's so annoying. Yeah, I could definitely buy my dream house, like, in a small town for, like, the amount that I paid for a 1-bedroom in Los Angeles.